GB newsroom. The Prime Minister has confirmed that any Ukrainian currently settled in the UK will be able to bring immediate family members to join them here in Britain. Downing Street says the measure will benefit many thousands of people making desperate choices about their future. The UK has also announced that it will provide a further £40 million worth of humanitarian aid for Ukraine. The funding will be used to pay for medical supplies to treat fleeing refugees. This evening, speaking at the Ukrainian Catholic Cathedral in London, the PM expressed his full support for the Ukrainian people.
When innocent people are subject to a barbaric and unprovoked attack, we in the UK cannot shut our eyes and pass by on the other side. And that is why we in the UK are doing everything we can to help economically, politically, diplomatically, militarily.
The General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces has described Sunday as a difficult time for the military, saying Russian troops continue shelling in almost all directions. It follows a health ministry announcement that 352 civilians, including 14 children, have been killed since the beginning of Russia's invasion, and almost 1,700 have been wounded. Earlier, the mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, confirmed there are no Russian troops in Kiev, but said civilians can't be evacuated because the capital is now encircled. He's urging Russian troops to leave.
Go back home. You have nothing to find here. We hope this night will be quiet. We hope the Russians take the decision, move back to Russia.
Ukraine has started proceedings against Russia at the International Court of Justice, arguing it has no lawful basis for its invasion. As part of the suit, Ukraine has asked the court to order unspecified provisional measures against Russia. It comes as both countries agreed to meet for talks on the border between Belarus and Ukraine. Ukraine's president says he needs to use every opportunity to secure peace. The EU has announced that it's closing its airspace to all Russian planes, including private jets owned by oligarchs. The European Commission is also aiming to use €450 million of EU funds to finance arms deliveries to Ukraine. An additional £50 million will be spent on items such as medical supplies. The Football Association of Wales has become the latest to announce that its teams will refuse to play against Russia due to the invasion of Ukraine. It comes after England's FA said that England would not play Russia in any international fixtures due to, quote, the atrocities being committed by the Russian leadership. Meanwhile, FIFA has ruled that Russia must play home matches on neutral territory with no fans, flag or anthem. With the World Cup fast approaching, FIFA said additional sanctions could include exclusion from competition. On TV, online and on DAB+ radio, this is GB News. Now let's get back to those headliners.
I'm Mark Dolan and you are watching Headliners, in which I bring you a first look at tomorrow's papers in the company of the creme de la creme of the UK comedy circuit. Tonight, the most premium double act since Marks and Spencer, with a touch of Lidl thrown in for good measure. It's Steve N. Allen, always good value, and Diane Spencer, taste the difference. So listen, folks, before we get started, I've never in my life given this much thought to Ukraine.
Yeah.
I mean, we're bigging up a pretty special country, aren't we? I mean, it's the scenes of heroism, of courage, of human forbearance is pretty humbling.
Yeah, I guess this is what happens as a knock-on from 2014.
Yeah.
Lessons were learned and prep happened and a mentality was built and it's working.
I think that's exactly right. It is a beautiful country. I don't know if you've been there. I've worked there, made a documentary there, and a couple of times I was on the overnight trains, the sleeper trains, and that is an experience in itself, especially in midwinter, because the heating system on those trains is amazing and it's like hotter than the surface of the sun. And what people tend to do is to gather in the carriages, complete strangers, just sat round, eating sandwiches, sharing food and drinking colossal amounts of vodka.
That sounds absolutely magic. I think you really can actually get to know a country when you try their public transport system.
Yeah.
That's when you really start to understand what they're about. When you take buses in Tunisia, you all sort of turn up to a place where there's just a load of transit vans, and they say, where do you want to go? And you go, can we go to here, please? And they go, right, you want that bus over there, and then you just get in a bus and you travel with people, and it's magical.
Completely.
But the Ukraine sounds incredible.
Absolutely. I travelled on a US Greyhound bus. They call them the Greyhound bus, and I managed to buy armaments, drugs, and a woman for the night. So yeah, you really do. You live quite the experience.
Don't get that on Thames Link, do you?
Mrs. Dolan goes to bed at 10:58. Well, we'll get to the big stories. Let's take a look now at tomorrow's front pages, and we'll start with the Telegraph, shall we? Putin issues nuclear threats, and this is something we'll be discussing. We're worried now that this conflict could get even more serious and on a grander scale. The Independent, Putin orders nuclear forces to be on high alert. We don't want these headlines, do we? But they appear again in The Guardian. Putin puts nuclear force on high alert as backlash grows. Meanwhile, in the war bunker, trauma in the refuge for babies. Financial Times, Putin puts nuclear forces on alert, which will doubtless impact world stock markets when they reopen tomorrow morning. And BP seeks to unload 20% investment in the Russian energy firm Rosneft as corporate backlash mounts. The Daily Mirror, be brave for your mother. What a moving photograph. Dad's sad farewell at lad's evacuation. Desperate Putin in nuclear rant. The Times, Putin puts nuclear force on alert. And a rather arresting photograph of a Russian armoured vehicle burning and on fire. The Metro, Ukraine peace talks, but Vlad nukes on standby. Putin raises the stakes as Russia suffers heavy losses. Moscow offers olive branch, along with threat of using weapons of mass destruction. And how about the Star? Footy loves Ukraine. Lots of football stars and fans showed their support for Ukraine at the football over the weekend, with a rather amusing placard from one fan, I believe at the Liverpool game. And the placard read, Putin has a small willy. I think we definitely come to that conclusion a few years ago. Bloody Vlad really has lost the plot. Madder than a box of frogs. Kremlin crackpot Putin in nuke threat, with a photograph superimposed in front of Vladimir Putin of Kermit the Frog with the byline, you Muppets. Kermit, as always, says it just right. And those are your front pages. I quite fancy having Kermit the Frog in the White House, actually. Just for a couple of years, give him a chance.
Yeah.
We've tried everything else, haven't we?
Exactly. It was close to it recently, but let's go the full Muppet.
Too right. Well, look, the top story in, of course, all of the papers is about this idea of a nuclear element to what's happening in Ukraine. So, Steve, what do we think?
Yes, it's kind of that Putin's not backing down. It's almost as if finding out that Russia won't be in the Eurovision hasn't put him off. Because I imagine, like many of us, he would have been like, oh, but we've already written the song.
I mean, that was our nuclear button, wasn't it?
Yeah, we went in big, and he's come back slightly bigger. I don't want to scare people. We are technically taking a step closer on that doomsday clock. We're closer to that mutually assured destruction that everyone talked about. And I now really regret signing up to that 24-month phone contract.
I think that was a huge mistake.
I know. Did not see this coming down the pipe.
Paying for Netflix in advance? You silly sausage.
What an idiot I've been. So Putin told state TV that NATO powers had made aggressive statements. This is why he's getting the nuclear option ready, on standby. Yeah, we've been aggressive because we've said, don't invade another country. How dare we? Trying to just ruin his buzz. It's like when you watch Brit Cops and you see some thug get arrested. They go around scaring everyone, and as soon as the cuffs go on, oh, you hurt me, get off my arm. That seems to be what's happening. How are we the bad guys in this? But the good news, if we can try and glean some good news, is that Russia have a policy with their nuclear weapons, that they only would launch a nuclear weapon if, big capital if, there is evidence that they're about to receive an imminent nuclear strike on their own territory. But we also know how good they are at changing facts to fit what they want to do next, because they decided part of a country wasn't a country anymore. So they'll just redefine the word nuclear, and it's still terrifying. And this is the world we're living in right now.
Well, the risk we have, Diane, is that Vladimir Putin is a man in a corner, perhaps with nothing to lose.
I do feel like he definitely has nothing to lose. His whole strategy is escalate to de-escalate, but he does it in a military sense. And I think that perhaps we, here in the West, we felt that his brand of dictatorship was something that belonged to the history books. And I think it actually took the entire West by surprise to go, this is still a thing? This is still possible? Wow, retro, thanks. And it's very interesting that people aren't quite getting it still. Yeah. I mean, like in the Times, they wrote that Putin issued a coded warning. It's like, no, these are not codes. Like, the only way he could be more obvious is if he did actions like, whoever tries to hinder us, you have never seen the consequences.
That was uncanny.
Yeah, it's like he was in the room.
I mean, Diane Spencer is just a TV show in her own right.
I mean, I could be the Putin show. I mean, we were having a chat earlier, weren't we, Steve? You see, in March of, I think it was 2021, he did an interview, Putin did, where he actually admitted to falling off a horse. Now, this is a very rare thing for him to actually admit that he's committed any kind of accident or fall or trip or stumble. And bear in mind, he's 68. And we were wondering, what is the possibility of him having had some kind of concussion? Because he seems to think this behavior is fine, but when you're a dictator, you can have a declining mental health and nobody around you is going to go, sir, that is literally a chocolate teapot you are using. Like, you can't say that to a dictator.
Well, yes, I mean, what we can't get to the bottom of is whether this guy is a strategic genius with some kind of master plan that we're not in on, or he's just lost the plot.
But yeah, we can't know until it's too late. That's the problem. That's the genius. Not that I'm calling anyone a genius. I'm not Trump here. But that's the genius of the situation is that, I mean, if ever you're going to err on the side of caution, it's when someone's got a nuclear weapon. Surely to goodness. That's probably why we're thinking, he might not mean it. We probably ought to take this seriously and put it on a few front pages.
Yeah, it's like when I take ice cream away from my 12-year-old. At that point, I've got his attention. I've got the Haagen-Dazs. I've got the Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia, at which point I'm calling all the shots.
Oh, my God. You've got such great ice cream at your house.
Yeah, I do, yeah. I've splashed the cash. I'm living the dream. Well, look, you mentioned the president because after this short break, we'll have a look at a major political figure who's been very flattering about Vladimir Putin. But who could that be? Lots more to come from my fantastic panel. See you in 2.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
that you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon
and Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
So I'm on the Greyhound bus. Drugs, armaments, and a woman for the night. Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Mark Dolan. With me taking a first look at tomorrow's papers are two fantastic comedians who are as sharp as a Savile Row suit. The veritable clothes horse that is Steve N. Allen, who is the eye candy on this show. We get him for the clicks. And straight out of Topshop, that's a bit harsh, Diane Spencer. I wrote Harrods.
Thanks.
They've downgraded you. Actually, there's nothing wrong with Topshop. Are they still going?
Yes, but I don't think I'm quite their demographic. I sort of, if I walk in there, they're like, oh my God, she's lost. Like, they just want to look after me.
Well, they think you've lost your teenage daughter.
Yeah. They just look at another ginger woman and they go, probably belong there together. That's how ginger people work.
Why don't you go in with Steve N. Allen, pretend he's your young son? He can be like your decoy.
I think they'll definitely fall for that. Look at you.
Yeah. I mean, I can't go nowhere near those shops because they don't even pretend to have my sizes. The only thing
What, you mean muscle fit?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that gelatinous adipose muscle.
The thing is, you are actually, Steve N. Allen, you're older than you look. Because astonishingly, I think you're in your 40s, which I find unnatural and surprising. But do you think when you turn 40, do you think that there are certain clothes you're not allowed to wear anymore? Because I'm the big 4'7", and I think it's not acceptable for me to wear jeans ever again, or a T-shirt.
No.
I don't think I've worn a T-shirt for about 5 years. These are chinos.
No, they're not.
Well, you know what they are? They're chino-coloured jeans.
Genos.
Yeah, they're Genos. Listen, but I mean, what you could tell us, because you are rather more authorised when it comes to clothes and style.
I would say that as long as you can carry it off, you can wear whatever you like. However, I feel that as a person, your personality should radiate within your sort of sartorial composition. So if you've decided that jeans don't suit you, I do not suit blue stonewashed jeans at all. I can't ever do a cowgirl look. Denim on me has to be very dark, so I completely understand. But you look at Tom Cruise, and how old is he? And he's running around in T-shirts. He looks great. Yeah,
I mean, I've seen you in lots of gear, I've got to say, Steve N. Allen. We've known each other for many years, and I think full leather is your best look.
I think so, yeah. The only reason I don't wear it on here is because it's a leather stool we sit on and just the noise puts off the house.
I mean, the mask really suits him. It's very tight on the face. Just make sure the blood supply's OK. Now, let's crack on and let's get back to that awful story. And it's in The Guardian. Putin doesn't seem to have many friends at the moment, except possibly the next president, Diane.
Yes. Well, you see, Donald Trump...
Who he?
Who's he? He is a reality star who momentarily had a managerial job. So the ex-president of the United States was telling a conference that he could have stopped the appalling Russian invasion of Ukraine because he would have built a massive wall around Ukraine, and he would have made the Ukrainians pay for it, and that way Russia couldn't have got in.
That would have done it.
No, he didn't. He was basically saying that if he was in the office and the election had not been stolen, which is a conspiracy theory which has no proof, then if he was still in charge, this would never have happened. And he's going to run again. Sadly, not off a cliff. He's going to run for president. And this is what he was telling to the Conservative Political Action Conference in Florida.
Where, by the way, let me tell you that Steve N. Allen is the headline act tomorrow night.
Yes. Gig's a gig, isn't it?
He's doing a closing 20 minutes. All about the difference between men and women. It's classic stuff.
They're going to love it.
A little bit of cat and dog stuff in there as well, just to mix it up.
Always.
Oh my God, I think you should do some really new stuff about Facebook, where you how does this work?
But in America, the big sort of right-wing conservative conference, that's what's happened, hasn't it? And that's where he's been speaking, essentially. OK, but look, let me offer some mitigation. With the rather clumsy Allied withdrawal from Afghanistan, with what's happening in Ukraine, could it be worse under Trump? I suspect not.
Could it? What could Ukraine be worse?
If you think of like a lesser of two evils, I know that the Donald has his faults, but his people argue that the botched departure from Afghanistan wouldn't have happened under his watch, or the invasion of Ukraine. I mean, it's not going brilliantly under Biden, is it?
Well,
foreign affairs.
Well, that is very true. I mean, the issue with Biden is that his coldness and his sudden pulling out of Afghanistan, and the sheer fact that they actually rang the Taliban, they cut out the allies. Britain was not kept informed because after Brexit, they decided that we were not their gateway into Europe, and they sort of cut us out. And they rang through to the Taliban, because I heard a very insightful documentary about it, basically saying, look, we're going to pull out on this date, go for it. And they literally sort of said that. So, yes, I do agree with you in that sense that Biden was actually very bad for Afghanistan. However, Trump, sorry, they are...
Similar.
They're very similar.
There's a Freudian slip.
He was dismantling NATO himself by undercutting the funding. So he was kind of doing what Putin wanted him to do. And this is the thing. There's always been that other conspiracy about Moscow being involved in the 2016 elections that got Trump elected. And that is not a conspiracy theory, because they did actually find proof for that. So although...
Although didn't they investigated the Facebook campaigns, and they didn't find much of a case to answer there, did they?
They actually did. They found that there were... Putin has this thing called the IRA, oddly enough, but it's not the IRA.
A different group.
It's definitely a different group. And they're essentially his army of trolls. And they sort of were infiltrating Facebook on a mass sort of level. And they were purposefully, they were part of the stealing of all the information, the John Podesta emails. They were the ones who kind of pilfered all of the secret emails and then leaked them through WikiLeaks.
And those Hillary emails, that was a very damaging story, wasn't it?
Yeah. And there's they also sort of it all weirdly links into the QAnon conspiracy as well, because there were these activists. So it all sort of links together. But
well, I don't have any truck with these conspiracy theorists, apart from the fact that the Queen is a lizard. Apart from that, I don't buy it.
What I will say in Trump's defence is...
He's got a very long green tongue. Just look at the videos.
There's been no evidence of there actually being a tape of him being tinkled on in a hotel room. But it's just fun to bring that up anyway.
Yeah.
Just to remind us all that that's a thing.
And that was worth it just for the expression tinkled on. Fascinating. Well, look, war is terrible, but Monday's iNews is covering what hopefully turns out to be some good news about some real heroes, Steve.
Yeah, this is going to turn into a film, I'm sure, because previously, we know that there was...
That was very good, by the way.
I'm available for voiceover work. On social media, we saw the video of a Russian warship turning up to this Snake Island. Great title. Already, it's going to get made.
It's very James Bond, isn't it?
It should be made.
And they said, we're a Russian warship. Put your weapons down. And the Ukraine border guards said, Russian warship, go beep yourself. He says, beeping himself. And of course they make a film out of it. It's a great title. It's a David and Goliath story, if David had a potty mouth. And people presumed that the guards were dead.
Yeah.
However, sequel teaser, they might still be alive. Dun, dun, dun.
No, but surely that is the film. Like, they get bombed by the Russian warship, but they all survive in the rubble.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a great film. And actually, they might make that version, because that's not true. But still, that's how Hollywood works.
Yeah.
Well, no, I want them to be alive, is what I'm saying.
They may well be alive, yeah. They've got reports of there being a video of them being given water by Russian captors. The claims from Russian state TV is that, news agency rather, is that they voluntarily surrendered. So maybe the conversation was, we're a Russian warship, put your weapons down, go beep yourself. Yeah. What was that? Good luck to yourself, we said. Can we have some water? So we'll find out what actually happened.
I can't wait for the film. The lead soldier on Snake Island will be played by Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Possibly assisted by Bruce Willis. I would have thought.
The bald brethren.
Angelina Jolie in some sort of military gear.
We've got to bring some young blood in there. Can we get Henry Cavill? Well, I mean, Henry Cavill.
You want Cavill? You press the Cavill button?
Yeah. I think he's good. And he's got a sense of humour. He could be a bit quirky.
We got this movie cast, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's all done.
Statham up there for, Russian, whatever you're called.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
Well, Statham, he turns up in a Lamborghini. out of context. Don't know how he got the car. And just takes out the Russians with a bazooka. Can you tell I haven't watched a film in a while?
It's been a while, yeah.
There you go. Brilliant stuff. Well, look, I like a pint. Oh, by golly, I like a pint. What's your favourite pint? I quite enjoy the Lost Lager from Brewdog. But Monday's Telegraph, by the way, my director likes Harvey's, which is... Or he likes Harvey. That's just gossip. Okay. But Monday's Telegraph has a story that suggests the Russian army are not going to want one of these particular drinks, Diane.
No, so there is a Ukrainian craft beer brewery who have converted their bottling facilities to making petrol bombs and Molotov cocktails specifically to be given to Ukrainian self-defense militias. Now, this is fantastic. This is one of the many things that the Ukrainian people are doing. They're changing to fight the Russian aggressors. I mean, aside from, you know, they've been removing road signs, they've been labelling all the pull doors as push. They've been doing everything they can to just, like, screw everything up, which I love. Everybody's changed their Wi-Fi password. So
that would do it.
I hope so. So
people unlocking their iPhones with a different finger, like this one.
They started making this beer in 2014, and it was a protest against Putin's annexation of Crimea. And so this beer is actually called Putin Huolo. I can't pronounce it quite, but it translates as, now I'm going to purposefully say this word wrong, but it rhymes with it, Putin the lickhead. You see?
Nicely done.
Or duckhead, make it up. So Putin the duckhead, and it was a bottle of beer, but now, because they have all the facilities, they are saying, look, as a brewer, we have access to the large numbers of bottles, and Ukrainian television have been telling people, here is how to make a Molotov cocktail to throw at a Russian tank, which is quite fun, maybe a bit of a Blue Peter for you. I mean, we were all told how to make a Tracy Island, but I mean, times change. So I kind of feel like the whole of Ukraine, I have such a hope for them. I feel like the whole country has got like the A-Team theme tune playing like on a constant loop.
Definitely.
And they're just modifying everything for whatever comes down that road. There's going to be cabbage launchers, there's going to be everything that they can just make, and there's bakeries with exploding sausage rolls. They're all just going for it.
Yeah, there's a massive warehouse just on the outskirts of Kiev, and inside Mr. T is basically sort of welding a helicopter together.
Oh, love it. Yeah, he's making it out of old go-karts.
End the war.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
I never realised that brewers are such essential services, because pandemic, they were the ones suddenly converting to making hand gel and Molotov cocktails. And, I mean, I've not checked, but you can probably still drink it, this Molotov cocktail. They say no one's drinking beer.
Well, that's the issue with the Russians, who do enjoy a drink. And if they get hold of one of these, they'll catch it, blow out the flame, and then down the hatch. It'll be like curry night at your local Wetherspoon.
I think this is a good way, actually, of supporting a Ukrainian business, because they are going to sell, I think they still sell it as beer, or there's probably bottles of this beer you can buy, but I think it's quite a collector's item. I don't think you can buy the whole Molotov cocktail and have it sent over, but I wonder if you can buy the bottles.
Health and safety.
And I think, am I right in thinking that the authorities have encouraged everybody in Ukraine, every adult, to take up arms, including people up to 60?
Yeah.
Can bear weapons.
There was something on social media of some bloke who's well older than that as well, getting tooled up. There is a spirit that, as you said earlier on the show, the spirit that we've known, at this rate, Ukraine will take over Russia. It's going to really backfire, and all of a sudden it'll spread back the other way. It's amazing what they're doing.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad I'm not a Ukrainian, because I'd be so nervous about all of this. You know, I love that Woody Allen joke when he says, in the event of war, I'm a hostage. Right? That's very much my position. But everyone's got a stake in this. Yeah. And I just wonder whether people power will actually see the Ukrainians through this. Now, let's move on now to another challenge closer to home. The cost of living crisis is starting to bite, and Monday's Guardian covers what UK energy firms are doing to not help their customers, Steve.
Apparently, well, according to a charity, there are claims that UK energy firms are chasing customers for more than they can afford. So you've got two parts of that. The way in which they're doing the chasing, the sending of nasty letters, the gap between someone owing the company some money and this debt being followed up on is, in some cases, ridiculous. 5 days was one of them before it was referred to a debt collector. And then there's the fact that they're trying to get more money than the customers who are in debt can afford. That's crossing the line. Ofgem have a rule that you can set up a payment system to try and repay the debt, but never more than they can afford. The problem is no one's making money by selling any fuel right now. The only way the companies can get some money is by, well, not the only way, big way to chase the debts. The other way, it's definitely what's been happening to me, where they owe me a lot of money. For some reason, because of the direct debit system, they owe me a couple of ton. And so I keep logging on to try and lower my direct debit, and I can't. They say, well, we'll let you lower it to this level. But what, you owe me 300 quid, I should be charging you interest, pal. And apparently they're actually doing this. There are reports of people having their direct debits increased, even though the usage has not gone up. So they are sitting on some money.
Yeah, that is a real worry. And this cost of living crisis, that is the next big challenge. Hopefully we're at the tail end of the pandemic, Diane, but it's now the pound in your pocket, which is the next crisis, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of on a harsh brace for April. With obviously the bills are set to rise by sort of 54%. I mean, it's ridiculous. You sort of pay all your bills and then you're going to have to pay all your bills again just for just because everything's suddenly inflated. What is pretty clear about this article, actually, is that a lot of people are asking Ofgem to really get involved and sort this out, because the way that the national debt line was saying that they are forcing people to pay more than what they can afford. And it's forcing people into debt. They're not helping them, and they're chasing people. Like, there was a story about one woman. She literally got she has a fortnight to sort of pay her debt, but she's getting these letters after 5 days, sort of threatening her. And this is just it's really unnecessary in this time when the wholesale prices have gone up. You're right, we're coming out of a pandemic, but we've come out of a pandemic. We seem to have gone straight into a war, because let's not beat around the bush. We are involved. Everybody's involved. And then this is going to happen in April. So can the people in the energy companies just chill out and, you know, be a little bit human?
On the plus side, though, I know you're a big fan of sorting out our energy crisis using nuclear, and Putin might help.
It's true, by the way.
Sending it this way.
Fix it just by pressing one button. Who knew? Connected to the last story, this covered in tomorrow's Express is set to make the situation even worse, Diane.
OK, so I did not realise we had a polar vortex and it can be weakened. These were two things that I learnt. So Britain is on the cusp of an icy snow blast because our polar vortex is weakened, and it means that it sort of opens this freezing cold section of northeasterly wind. So if before your hair was sort of blowing this way, your hair is going to suddenly blow this way, and it's going to be very, very cold when it does. March is going to be freezing. So your Easter eggs are going to freeze over. Any plants you've put out in the garden, you need to chuck some blankets on them. Think of the daffodils, they're gone. And obviously, there are people who have had a lot of flooding, and everything's still going to be a little bit damp from that, and you've got to be careful because these temperatures are going to plunge, and it's going to feel like minus 10 degrees. I mean, I just know. I mean, I've already got anemia. I'm such a cold person naturally, and when it's like it's going to go even colder, forget it. I mean, my blood type's mayonnaise, so I'm going to cope. And
yeah, I mean, Steve and Alan, are you worried about your geraniums going hard?
Yes, always, especially this period.
What happens at our age? Listen, you're only human.
I do worry about. We need to stop naming storms. This weather coming our way, stop giving it. It's an American thing to do anyway.
What have they called it?
Well, a vortex, you don't get a name to it, but if they turn into storms, this is a very ancillary point, but I'm making it anyway. Stop naming them, because there's research that says people don't think ones named after women are as deadly. How have we managed to add more gender to things to be obsessed about?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Well, this is an animal, though, because they always call it a beast.
Okay.
It's a polar vortex. It's like the ghost of a Yeti. And they've called it a beast of a vortex. So it's an animal.
But
isn't that ferocious?
That sounded more like someone who's come around to give you a quote. They go, oh, it's an absolute beast of a vortex, that way. Who'd you have in for that? It seemed, it's vernacular, isn't it?
Sounds like a car, the Vauxhall Vortex. Yeah. It's a hybrid.
The air conditioning's too high on that one.
Too right.
I can't.
Leather upholstery, power steering. Remote central locking. Part 2 is at an end. Thank God. Please, send for help. By the way, what the hell does ancillary mean? I'll look that up during the break. See, they're just so clever, this crowd. I feel quite out of my depth. But we've got, coming up, juicy, antiquated celeb gossip, strange goings-on the Isle of Wight, and some reptilian teamwork. Back to the Queen. See you in 2.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate.
From all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
Make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel.
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions
That you'd ask, so why not add your voice to the conversation in the comments section?
Don't forget to subscribe. We are GB News, Britain's news channel.
Every night at 11 on GB News, we bring you the next day's stories the day before.
It's basically like time travel.
If it's a big story, we'll cover it, guaranteed. But we'll also have some fun along the way.
Big opinions, big laughs. Sometimes big hair.
This is Headliners.
Headliners, the paper review show that won't send you to sleep like the others will.
11 p.m, 7 nights a week. Join us.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton Tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. I'm Mark Dolan, being propped up by the twin comedic talents of Steve N. Allen and Diane Spencer, looking at tomorrow's papers. Brilliant to have your company. 2 years after the fact, and Monday's Telegraph are reporting what many of us thought all along: you're not the kind to go to I told you so, are you, Diane?
Oh, no, I wouldn't say I told you so at all. Are we talking about the NHS managers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So their pay has risen by 65% in the past decade, which is a little bit of a shocker because it's a bit of a shocker, really, isn't it? Because sort of it's not risen in line with the people who are doing, can I say, the more gritty end of the work. Like, for example, the midwives have only had a pay rise of 32%, and they're the ones catching the kids. Like, they're the ones who are having their hands crippled. They're the ones who are being screamed at by very, very angry women who are trying to bring a new life into the world. And it just... Yeah, it's just the kind of thing of managers getting way more money than the people doing the hard work. What do you think, Steve?
Steve, of course, former midwife.
Well, I mean...
Or not even former. I hear it's still a hobby.
Pro. Yeah, never turned pro, but I do like to keep my hand in. There we go. Everyone saw that joke coming. The Telegraph's take on this, that the senior managers in the NHS risen by 65%. But to be fair, during the same decade, the NHS has become 65% less costly. No, that's not right. It's 65% more efficient. No, that's not right. 65% quicker for the waiting list. No. So basically, there's no good reason for it. They've compared it to an 18% rise for all workers. But to be fair, that includes people who've just entered a workforce across the economy. This first stat, the 65 and the 34, are tracking people with experience. So it should be a bit higher. But if any money goes into the NHS, I would very much rather it be to someone who knows what they're doing in saving a life rather than someone who's a whiz with a spreadsheet. The managers have got enough by now.
Yeah, well, I think I agree with every word of that. Amen to that. Diane, the government's COVID modellers are predicting a heat wave tomorrow afternoon. Tell me more.
So this is a story from The Telegraph. There was a report published. The report published in March 2020 suggested that 500,000 people could die from the coronavirus if Britain took no action. However, now looking back on that, they have said that the data was inaccurate, and the Prime Minister was shown a terrifying worst-case scenario, which was also leaked to the public, and then as a snap reaction, everybody was shut into lockdown. And obviously lockdown was a massive trauma for everyone affected. Nobody can look at banana bread ever again, and the problem is that there was so much data that was uncertain or wrong, or modelling should be done in conjunction with real-time data. That's what kind of they've brought out of this report. And they're saying that it wasn't done in that way, and that data was withheld, like the NHS weren't sort of saying how many people were being vaccinated accurately. And it was a national scandal. The MP for the Isle of Wight has been very critical of the modelling throughout the pandemic, and he has said that what the evidence that the government saw was incomplete and potentially inaccurate. And we all know that during lockdown, like when it actually happened, when we were shut down and millions of us were not allowed to move, we all lost our jobs, we weren't allowed to go see our families, it was very traumatic. That could have not maybe happened. I mean, I'm not a modelling expert, you can't go back in time and kind of go, oh, let's try this now. But we have to learn from this moving forward so that we don't put people under that traumatic experience again, because so many people mentally, with their mental health, suffered during lockdown as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, we can all cut the government some slack, can't we? Scientists and the NHS early in the pandemic, we didn't know about this virus. It didn't have a name in 2019. But I thought Stephanie would be a nice one, but they didn't go for it. Perhaps they didn't receive the email. But the bottom line, Steve, is that now we must, as Diane said, learn from, what some consider to be inaccurate modelling. I mean, we've got a recent example, because it surprises me that the modelling didn't get better off the back of those apocalyptic predictions at the beginning. But just last December, SAGE were advising the government to cancel Christmas for fear of 6,000 deaths a day from Omicron. Now, this is a virus that, Omicron's a nasty virus, a nasty variant in its own right, but clearly milder than the previous variants. We're told that by the South Africans. So, again, if the government had listened to the modellers, they probably would have cancelled Christmas needlessly.
An awful lot of hindsight involved in that position, though, isn't it? It's really easy now to look back and go, how did they not get it right, given that we're 2 years later, we know more than they did back then? If you were asked to bet back then, because it's not just about probability of outcome, which should have been included in some of the ways in which you interpret the modelling. I mean, I'm no expert in any type of modelling, the clothes or this one, but I'm going to give them definitely going to give them some slack, because not only was it difficult, the fault here in this story is about the data, not necessarily in the modelling. And it actually explains how some of the modelling was more about proof of concept to see whether a lockdown could make an impact. And worst case scenario stuff has to be done, but it's never going to be the worst case scenario.
Where? I mean, for God's sake, I think I got C in GCSE biology, but where did they get 6,000 deaths a day from Omicron? I mean, we waited weeks for a single global death from Omicron before there was a sad announcement.
Do you know what? There's some information coming out of South Africa again, which is about long COVID. And there's a researcher called Dr. Pretorius, and she's discovered that you can actually see in people who have long COVID, they have microclots in their blood. But this information that's coming out is not necessarily being treated seriously again, or people aren't paying attention to it. And they wonder whether it's because it's coming out of South Africa, which seems very unfair.
Well, yeah, that is a concern. Well, as Steve said, time will tell, and let's ultimately have a proper big inquiry so that we can do the right things and learn from where mistakes may have been made. Where should we go next, Martin? Shall we hit Ferrero Rocher? OK, that's right, Monday's Guardian, and it looks like the Iranian ambassador won't be eating any of those famous chocolates anytime soon.
That's true, because he's the ambassador to the UK from Iran has been removed from his post over what they're calling a hijab incident. And that
We've all had one of those.
I mean, it does. It's such a vague title that our minds are going crazy on it right now. It's probably less worrisome than you imagine. So, he's been ordered back to Tehran because a video came out showing some women at an embassy reception with their heads uncovered. I know, it's shocking. Sorry if I've just offended anyone. I don't know how leery things got, how debauched. Maybe there are rumours of ankles. I don't know what was happening. Maybe someone was shouting, "Get your hair out." But at the event that was commemorating the 43rd Iranian Revolution, there was a woman playing the piano alongside a woman playing the violin, not wearing hijabs. And that's enough. I mean, if you're offended by that, your Google safe search setting must only just show you bald women. I don't know. It basically, you know, my take on religion is that I don't give it much truck. And this comes from religion. It just seems like, if the biggest problem in your life is the fact that something happened that you weren't invited to that included a bit of hair on display, then you're going to have big problems in life.
Well, look, I can't wait for the end of the show. I'm going to Google bald women and see what comes up on my search engine. Monday's Mirror now covering a story about the challenges and the changes to the highway code in terms of overweight people, Diane.
So this is really quite interesting. So the highway code has been coming in and they're being really, really tough, right? Super mega tough. But one of the things is about touching your mobile phone. Like, even if you touch your phone, if you have a phone in the car, if you say the word phone while you're driving, you may be fined. Now, the issue is some people use their phone to pay for things. And motorists who enjoy KFC, McDonald's, Costa, whatever, many drive-thrus are available, could break the highway code if they get their phone out whilst their car is switched on to pay for a drive-through item. Now, this does make me think that, are the police going to be hanging around? What's that, Operation Milkshake? Just hanging around the drive-through going, come on then. Like, already we sort of phased out money because of COVID. And like now when you pay for something with cash, it kind of feels sort of dirty and illicit. And like you've gone back, oh, would you like a bag of coins for your goods and services? It seems a little odd. But so a lot of people pay with their phones. But these laws just seem to be very, very strict, like ridiculously strict. I agree, though. I mean, come on, both of you are comedians. You've seen people on the roads.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Putting on makeup, eating a hamburger.
Yeah, right? You've seen all sorts of... I often see... I hate it when I see people, like literally just scrolling through YouTube to find something to watch while they're driving. And you just think, please.
Yeah, but isn't this the point? What irritates me is the idea the law is an ass. Why there can't be discretion between paying at a drive-through for your phone and watching YouTubes on the M1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, surely, if anyone ever gets fined for this, go to the papers, you'll get your money back to sell that story. It will be utterly ridiculous. My only fear is it would actually be a good way of making money for the police. A lot of fines you could, you set up speed traps in certain areas. The
police
also,
would never do that.
But it also includes the ban of use of smartwatches, tablets and laptops. And it's the laptops that... It's another one where you think, did you need that law? Surely to goodness you realise that you shouldn't be using your laptop when you're driving.
Have you seen the inside of a Tesla? The inside of a Tesla looks like a tablet. Like, you've got this, like, some of them, you've got this great big screen there, and it properly looks like a tablet because it's all, like, electronic.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why that's OK.
Yeah.
But an iPad and a phone isn't.
And there is the rub. Fascinating stuff. Well, Monday's Express covering some juicy celeb gossip. 80 years late, Diane. Errol Flynn.
Now, this, I don't know where this story has come from. So I'm very sort of surprised about this gossip because I couldn't find... It's about David Niven and Errol Flynn. And I don't know whether a biography has come out or somebody has finally snitched or what. I mean, the film industry is wonderful. I've had the pleasure of being in it sometimes, and the best gossips are the makeup and the hair and beauty people. They know everything. It's just fabulous. But David Niven and Errol Flynn were both notorious womanizers, both actors, both very handsome men, and basically stunt doubles. You're basically stunt doubles for them. And they were major stars. They starred together in For example, the charge of the Light Brigade in 1936, which is obviously a reference to something that Ben Wallace our Defence Secretary made a reference to recently when he was trying to G up our troops. It didn't end well for our troops, but there we go. So David Niven and Errol Flynn, both these hot Hollywood hunks, but apparently at one point Errol Flynn tried to snog David Niven, and they were living together in this villa that they nicknamed Cirrhosis by the Sea.
I think it's a stud pad.
It is a stud pad, and they would just invite women there and sort of do their thing with, and philander. And it's kind of like, I guess, think of two Hollywood hunks. Can you think of two Hollywood hunks?
Hugh Jackman and Bruce Willis, who are going to be...
Or N. Allen and Dolan.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. OK, so it's like you two hooking up. You've got this bachelor pad.
Never say never.
And then suddenly, one day, Steve just lunges at you, Mark. He just lunges.
We all know it'll be the other way around. Come on.
I think Steve's a receiver, I'm going to be honest with you. I love to give.
Yeah.
And listen, we're on thin ice here because I'm trapped in a loveless marriage, so we better move on. How about Monday's Daily Mail and a story where the subject is either incredibly self-assured or completely socially gauche? Diane?
Is this the...
I tell you what, we need to end the guesswork for what these stories are.
Yes, I'm so
Martin,
sorry.
what's the story? Who knows?
Is it the
Just
bride?
choose.
Wait, is this the
Hindus.
bride?
There you go.
Which one is it?
Hindus.
Oh my gosh, sorry, I really couldn't tell. So, a bride-to-be has been slammed as greedy by her bridal party because, you always want to go on the hen do. You want to invite your friends, and it used to be just a really, really good drinking session and a bit of a dance, and you used to sort of dress up, bit slutty, go out and sort of cover your friend with male phalluses, sort of decorate her to make her look like the Temple of Peni, and you go out together and you just get smashed.
Why were you looking at Steve N. Allen when you said Temple of Peni?
I was like projecting my friend.
You guess my username.
But this woman, instead of doing anything with her friends, she said, look, I think a health retreat. Now, at first, I'm totally on board. But she wanted to go by herself and make her friends pay for it and said, you should all chip in because the flights alone. What? Where are you going, madam? Can you believe this?
Well, having said that, with the more you read about what she's like, the more I think it's money well spent to send her off on her own for a while. If I were the friends, I'd be chipping in. Brilliant work.
Yeah, too right. Well, look, I tell you what, moving on, because we've got an interesting story in The Sun about a vandalised ambulance, Steve.
Yeah, medics furious that the ambulance had the word liar spray painted on it. It's vandalism. I think straight away, mentally, we've all got the Alan Partridge-style mental image of, Cook, Pass, Babtridge. But he posted this thing online. He's from Dorset. Kieran's his name. Turned up for my shift today to this. Unacceptable, and has meant this vehicle was unable to respond. I'm not sure why it's unable to respond. Are you not allowed to send out an ambulance with the word liar on? If I had something broken, I would still take the pain meds and the trip to the hospital, thanks. I wouldn't be like, no, mate, bring me an honest ambulance.
Well, yeah. No, I can relate to the authorities. My Prius is very dented, which is why I don't take it dogging, so...
Is that how the dent happened, though?
Just being all that rust work, it's very embarrassing. I don't want to be judged.
Yeah, but also, this happened in Dorset. Now, I grew up in Dorset, and you do write things on people's cars and houses if you've got good reason. I think that possibly whoever was driving the ambulance, because, maybe, we don't know, but I reckon maybe some kind of thing was going on. They were taking more than just temperatures, or maybe there was a little bit, they were using that bed not just for carting people around, they were sort of pulling up to different places.
Oh, I see.
Bit of a love thing going on, and I feel like that was written by a scorned lover who just went, liar, and just...
It was an Irish person, was it? OK.
No, that's my Dorset, liar!
It was from someone from Northern Ireland, perhaps?
Yeah.
Around sort of Belfast? Antrim? Nice. Well, I tell you what, not only a great comedian, but 1,000 voices as well. How about this from Monday's Star? Sounds like an Aesop's fable, Steve.
Is it my go with the Star? Is this...
Go for it. Your favourite paper. I know you start with the Star, don't you?
Always start with the start.
That's your kind of heavy reading.
Is this the Harry one?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, well, let's do it as if it is, because it is the Harry one. So, Mardi Gras float, it's got Prince Harry in a toilet. And you're going to like this, because I think you're in the subcategory of people who have a go at Meghan all the time.
I call them to account for hypocrisy, definitely.
Why don't you try ignoring them like I do?
It's not a bad shout.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're royal, I'm willing to ignore you, but if you're royal but you don't want to be royal anymore, bye, fine. I'm almost grateful that they've not made any podcasts for Netflix or whatever they were trying to make. Great, stay, do whatever. But there's, they're depicted in this New Orleans Mardi Gras float on the toilet. There's a strong toilet theme. They've got the Queen on the toilet reading a newspaper.
It's the royal throne.
I get the pun, but if you're making things called floats, maybe let's not start seeing who can do the best toilet joke.
Flush him out of the system as quickly as I could if I were you. What a nice note with which to end the show. Have you ever celebrated Mardi Gras?
I have not celebrated Mardi Gras, but I have seen the Yeovil Carnival floats, and they are very good.
Is that the word liar sprayed on it?
Liar. She's cheating on you!
On a float.
I think this is quite interesting because, unfortunately, I feel like Meghan Markle, she was called the Windsor Whiner.
Oh, I think there you go. There's the commentary. Perhaps young Stephen is right. We just ignore them and crack on. What a brilliant, fun hour it was. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. My thanks to the brilliant Diane Spencer and Steve N. Allen. Of course, Headliners is back tomorrow, and I'll see you actually on Wednesday at 9.
Hello there, I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Isabel Webster.
And we hope you can join us for
Breakfast with Eamon.
And Isabel.
You make me laugh out loud, belly laugh.
Is that important first thing in the morning?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's me trying to be deadly serious. News is a serious business.
Yeah, I have to rein you in sometimes.
Well, it doesn't stop us laughing at it. It doesn't stop us having an opinion on what's going on.
Yeah.
And it certainly will not stop us reflecting what you think.
Weekdays from 6 to 9:30 on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and every weekday we bring you The Briefing live from 9:30 a.m. The stories, analysis and live debate that you need to hear.
Quite right, Tom, of course.
Was this something that had been considered at all?
Difficult to answer.
Gas-guzzling helicopters circling. Noise is being made here.
Joe Biden walking out. Thank you very much for joining us.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. on GB News.
GB News is the UK's home of discussion and debate
from all perspectives.
To stay up to date on the latest stories,
make sure that you subscribe to the GB News channel
right here on YouTube.
You can watch us live 24/7 across the whole world.
You can also check out exclusive content and catch up on previous episodes of your favourite shows.
Every day, we ask the questions that